because I think your body holds and becomes a repository of everything that's ever happened to you.
Or do you still have cancer technically, but it's just not growing anymore?
I would still be classified as having chronic lymphocytic leukemia because the white blood cell count is higher than it
Mhm.
should be. But it's also, as of the last test, less than 50% of what it was when I was diagnosed.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
the trend was for me to be dead at best 13 years ago. So I'm pretty happy
Mhm.
about all this.
Today, I'm sitting down with Peter McLaughlin of Blue Sky Hypnosis. Peter is a hypnotherapist and regression practitioner who came to this work not through just his study, but through his own experience through serious illness. And after navigating leukemia and later Lyme disease, he began asking bigger questions about how the subconscious mind, trauma, belief systems, and even spiritual frameworks intersect with healing. That journey led him into a deep hypnotic work, which includes root cause regression, past life exploration, and even cases where clients interpret their struggles through the lens of energetic or entity attachment. But I'm
Definitely.
really excited to dive into what you do. And I know you've told that story about your illnesses before, but I want to get a little background into it from the lens of how you discovered and what you did to heal yourself. I know we talked
Okay.
about that it happened and it was the
Yep.
impetus for your work, but
Hmm.
how, when you're just this guy that got this bad news, did you make the bridge to figuring out what to do with it?
Okay. Great. So I think the first thing that happened was a form of denial, but I think that there was something deeper in it too, which was this cannot be.
Hmm.
So at the level of this diagnosis can't be correct, but also at a different level, maybe a higher level of this can't be the end. This can't be what takes me. That was the first thing I remember. And then I remember having this feeling of wanting to look it in the face. This was around the time of 9/11, and I worked about a block and a half away from the Trade Center in New York City. And the planes flew within a quarter mile of my house, which was north of New York City, following the Hudson River down. And there was a terrorism expert that was on one day, and they were talking to people about how to deal with this intense fear that all Americans felt, in particular people who lived in and around New York City. And one of the things that they were saying is learn as much as you possibly can about your enemy, like study them,
Hmm.
and then practice things that you can do to protect yourself, and then take action. And I thought, that's interesting. So if I apply that to cancer, to leukemia, learn everything I can about it. Take action, learn everything I can about it, and then figure out what I can do to quote unquote win the battle, and then take action. So I kind of did the same thing. And I think part of that was influenced by listening to a terrorism expert talking about 9/11.
That's that synchronicity where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to pick up this breadcrumb and then I'm going to figure out how this
Yeah,
applies to me. I love that. Yeah.
definitely. And there's definitely a correlation between the deeper story that's being told in The Wizard of Oz and what I'm talking about now, which
Yeah.
is the almighty powerful wizard that turns out to be a frightened old man when they confront him.
Hmm. And the power was in you
The
all
deep,
along.
yep, yep. The deeper metaphor is that we feed the things that we're afraid of. In some
Hmm.
ways, we may even make them larger than they truly are. And when we confront them, they often just kind of vanish, or it's much less than we had anticipated it would be. So I think that helped as well in turning the corner. And I'm not saying that this all happened immediately. It didn't. It was kind of like a 3-year period between diagnosis and then signing up for and going out to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and learning this science and art called hypnotherapy. And while I was out there, it really changed dramatically. It went from being everything in my life would go first through the filter of this diagnosis. And afterwards, it was like, oh, right. That's a chapter in my book. It's not the title of the book anymore.
And did you end up doing any kind of traditional treatments for your cancer?
No, I went to a hematologist oncologist twice, which I think was one too many times, because
Mm.
she told me on the first visit, we don't know what causes it. We don't know how to cure it. So why I went back, I don't really. It
So they
was,
told you it wasn't curable. So you didn't feel like there was anything you could do.
there wasn't. I mean, if I took
Mhm.
my car to a mechanic and go, wow, we really don't know what's causing this and we don't know how to fix it, why would I, go back again? Like, but I
Mhm.
did.
Yeah. So then you were like, well, let's see what else there is out there, and then
Let's see
found this
what else there
program.
is out there, and I'm gonna have to take ownership of this, which is how I really believe healing should be. I think
Yeah.
we are the general, and that we hire consultants. I think in the UK they even call a physician a consultant. Now that I think about it,
Mm. Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
right? I think
That's a
that's
very interesting distinction. Yeah.
yeah. And this is just me. So, but I object to the word patient, because it implies what actually happens. A waiting room is where patient people sit. And if you show up, I don't know, 20 minutes late for your doctor's appointment, well, that's a problem.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if the doctor's running behind today and they show up an hour after you arrive, that doesn't seem to be a problem because you are the patient.
This is your neuro linguistic training coming through, right? This is what
Probably,
that.
yeah. Yeah. And I feel like there's a comedy thing in there somewhere too,
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm with you
because the
on
things
that.
that annoy me sometimes come out as comedically. Because it's sort of, I can make it sort of funny to myself.
Oh, yeah. That's when I'm always like, wait, am I really in the chair in the Matrix designing this as a movie? Because if I see the humor, I'm like, yeah, I would have thought that was funny. So I designed it that way to laugh at it. Look, do you know what I mean? Like, so you're like,
Yeah.
that actually does. Okay, I'm with you. That is so funny. Okay, so when you said, all right, I'm going to Santa Fe, I'm going to figure out what else there is. They taught you hypnotherapy, but then how did you do that on your own? I mean, I know you didn't stay there the whole time to help get to the root of your cancer.
Well, so it was a very intense program. I mean, it was like
Okay.
10-hour days, 5 days a week. And then on the
Oh, wow.
weekends, we would work with each other. We're about 40 students. And then we also would choose one of the instructors to be our hypnotherapist. And we would, do private pay with them and work with them in these very intense sessions. And I can't tell you exactly, oh, it was this moment in this session that healed the anger that I went out there with, or that did other things like help me really feel like this is no longer the story of my life. This is now a chapter, and a host of other things. I mean, that's the thing about this work, is that when you heal an old wound, you don't know what kind of effects it's going to have. You know it's going to be good,
Hmm.
but you don't know how it's going to bleed into other areas in a very positive way in a person's life. Just like you don't know how something negative in a person's life is going to bleed into all these areas. Like if a person's an alcoholic, it's probably going to affect their primary relationship, their relationship with their kids. It might get them fired from their job. It's probably going to affect their health. It may get them arrested. They may lose their driver's license. They may hurt somebody in an accident. They may do something in a belligerent way. It has such far-reaching effects, but the
Right.
opposite is true as well, which makes sense. That when you
That's some
heal
good
something, it
news.
has these
Yeah.
far-reaching effects.
Yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, in opposition with each other. It's almost like, why isn't everyone reaching out to try to, because it's scary. The idea that you're opening up these wounds that you don't even maybe know exist. That's why it's not some everyday thing. It's a little more approachable, I guess, for people to say, I'm going to go talk to a therapist. But to me, and
Right.
hey, that works for some people. It's just you're telling the same story in a circle. At least that's what it was for me. So doing something like this, where you identify what that root wound, belief, it could be several things, right?
Yep.
Um, Makes a whole lot of sense. It just makes sense. So
I
can you
think
tell
so
me what
too.
that
And
looks like practically? Like when you go through, if you were to hypnotize somebody, what does that look like?
well, first of all, I don't jump right into that.
That's right.
Sometimes I call the really deep work spiritual surgery.
Hmm.
And if you think about physical surgery, that's not, you don't unless it's an emergency, unless you're in the ER. That's
Yeah.
not
You
how
have
it
a
works.
consultation first, essentially. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's the same with this, and that
Hmm.
gets to the fear of the unknown. Who's this guy that's sitting across from me, and what are we going to do? And the only frame of reference I have, I'm a client, is a lifetime of primarily entertainment media
Right.
talking about hypnosis and
Hmm.
hypnotize and mesmerize and the man with the black cape and
Hmm.
controlling other people in catatonic sleep like state and not remembering anything. So I want to make sure that there's a degree of comfort that a person has, as well as me understanding them. How am I supposed to just jump right in if I
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
understand them? So that all comes before. And hypnosis is really a tool. Before a builder works on your house, they got to know what you want, and
Hmm.
they've got to get a lay of the land and how the house is built and maybe building plans to look at those and plan it out and so on. Before they even decide what tool they're going to use, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the consultation in itself for a lot of people is probably very cathartic.
It
Just
is.
and
Yep.
that's the therapy session in a sense. Maybe I'm wrong, but like let me just talk to you and tell you how I'm feeling, what's going on, and then you can start to suss out the patterns.
Exactly. You're exactly right. Patterns is a big thing of recurring ways of being. And back to language. I
Mhm.
just had a session an hour ago with with a brand new client, and one of his symptoms that he put on his intake form was significant low back pain that's been
Mhm.
going on for 20 years or something. And his unconscious language was about being crippled. There was another thing about it broke his this incident that it happened in the past broke his back. These are metaphors that are coming out kind of unconsciously, but
Mhm.
are a mirror for his physical condition. And it's one of the ways that we can relate to the concept everybody believes in, which is your mind and your body are connected. They're not separate systems.
Right.
What's going on in your mind can turn up in your body.
Yeah.
Which was the essence of where I came to when I decided I had to be trained as a hypnotist, because
Uh-huh.
they didn't know what caused it. They didn't know how to cure it. So part of me firing on all cylinders was figuring out how to identify and neutralize the toxic emotional material that was in my mind and in my body. Because I think your body holds and becomes a repository of everything that's ever happened to you.
Do technically, or do you still have cancer technically, but it's just not growing anymore? Or what does that, what does it look like now?
So it's technically a blood cancer.
Hmm.
And when I was first diagnosed in 2003, 23 years ago, I asked, how long do I have? And the doctor who diagnosed it said, maybe 10 years. And technically, yes, technically I would still be classified, at least as of the last time I had a blood test, which was like a year ago. I would still be classified as having chronic lymphocytic leukemia because the white blood cell count is higher than it
Hmm.
should be. But it's also, as of the last test, less than 50% of what it was when I was diagnosed.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
the trend was for me to be dead at best 13 years ago. So I'm pretty happy
Mm.
about all this.
Yeah. I know. Well, thanks for letting me ask that question. But
Sure.
but it's a real life case study of what you're doing. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm not going to say that the only thing I've done is mind based. So I've done other things like working with a naturopathic doctor early
Mhm.
on to expel environmental toxins.
Mhm.
I worked a block and a half away from the World Trade Center on 9/11. That happened on a Tuesday. We were back to work by the following Monday. There was a cloud of acrid
Yeah.
smoke that just hung over ground zero for a couple of months. And we're breathing all that in. It's probably in the water and everything else.
Mhm.
So, detoxing from environmental toxins has been something that I've done over the years as well.
Yeah. And then that's what it right? It's a whole approach, and
Yeah,
where it's, you skin your knee and you have, you need a Band-Aid, that's okay. Like, there's just that's the physical wound, right? But then
right.
if you have chronic back pain, there's those different layers of,
Exactly.
energetic healing, and I guess that's what you're doing on a different there's tuning forks and people who,
Yeah,
is it pranic healing where they feel the energy body, but what you're doing is same in a different way because you're actually getting them to name what that energetic wound is that correct?
it is. It is. Yeah, it's literally pinpointing it and then being able to baseline it so we know what the level of acuity is.
And
That
it's more you tangible for somebody who's not like knows all the buzzwords of Reiki.
and by baselining it, it lets you know after you've worked on it if you've finished with it, if
Mm.
it's done, or if you have to keep going. And it's not just a feeling, it's like literally baselining it.
What do you mean by that? So is it you ask them under hypnosis a 1 to a 10 and they tell you, or how do you baseline?
The way I do it is well, to describe this properly, I have to say or point out that your body is a feedback mechanism.
Mhm.
How do you know when you're frightened? How do you know when you're happy? How do you know when you are sick? Right, you
Yeah.
feel it.
Mhm.
Everybody
There's
can
lots
relate.
of indications. Yeah.
Yeah. When people say they just want to be when people say they just want to be happy, well, how do you know when you're happy? This is a dumb
Mhm.
question because everybody knows when they feel happy because they feel happy,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
You feel healthy or you don't feel healthy. So the body's a feedback mechanism. And the body has an opinion. And look, the body is just the communication mechanism. Like there's something else controlling the body. We have an autonomic nervous system and something's controlling that. We would say that's the subconscious mind. What's the subconscious mind? Nobody really knows.
Mhm.
What shape is it? What size is it? Nobody, because it's energy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And and um so the body is like it's like what we relate to as the communication device, if you will. So I teach my clients, every one of them, how to use a pendulum, which looks like this,
Mhm.
right? Something weighted on the end of this case, it's a little chain or it could be a string or anything else. And that is an amplifier of what the body is telling you. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And muscle testing, it could also be
Could
a
be that.
way
Yep.
of
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
But I like the idea of the pendulum straight out the gate. The pendulum is more concrete. It's yes or no.
It's easier for me to use. I'm very familiar with muscle testing, but the pendulum is is easier for me to use, and because of that, it's easier for me to explain and teach,
Mhm.
and it's easier for my clients to grasp.
Mhm.
And I have them holding it. I'm not holding it.
Do they just sometimes at this point they're like, "Okay, I believe you." Like to me some that might be a little bit of a hurdle for some people to get over that the pendulum is not random.
Well, I think when I explain it the way I do, that your body, everyone can relate to your body telling you when you're happy. That's how you know you're happy.
Yeah.
Or that's how you know that you're sad or you know that you're frightened because you can feel it in your body. Your body's giving you those feelings. If you didn't have any feelings, you wouldn't know if you were happy or sad or frightened.
Yeah.
And the body has an opinion of everything in between those two extremes, happy and let's say frightened. But we can't recognize it, most of us, because we're so divorced from our bodies.
Mhm.
If we were, living 200 years ago and we were, say, Native Americans or something, and we were walking in the woods all day long wearing moccasins, we'd have a very keen sensitivity to both our surroundings and our body. We'd probably know when it was going to rain because we'd feel the change in the barometric pressure.
Yeah.
We could feel the ground, at different degrees of frozen. You could smell things. You could tell if an animal was nearby, all that stuff that we have no clue about. So that's why the pendulum, and I would say if we get into talking about psychedelics, why these things are important for modern people because we're so walled off from our body. We're like largely in our head all the time, not in our
And it's
body.
not our fault. I mean, like, I'm
No.
thinking about my husband as I'm talking about this. He's had some chronic elbow pain from tendonitis. And I keep telling him, it's energetic. You've been under a lot of stress. And let's figure out how we can release these emotions and figure out what it's telling us. And, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to the physical therapist. Right. When I say it's not our fault that we're not as in tune, because guess what? He's still got to wake up and go to work in the morning. We've still got to pay the
Mhm.
mortgage. We got to pick up the
Mhm.
kids from school and take them to gymnastics. And then,
Yep.
like you said, left brain, left brain, left brain. What's the schedule like? And it's easier to make an appointment with a physical therapist than to feel our feelings. I mean,
True. True. And we've been propagandized since we were born about certain things. Like the one that really gets me is it's all in your head.
hmm,
It's it's it was just a dream. It's only your imagination.
yeah. And what's our imagination? Where'd that come from? Right. Yeah, I love
And
that
all
one.
of this has been in this very subtle, pervasive way is a way of denigrating what I'm going to say is a human being's greatest power. It's not
Yeah.
one of your five senses.
Yeah.
There are animals that completely blow us away with eyesight, with smell, with hearing, with physical strength, even with the speed at which you can run. We can't fly by flapping our arms.
Yeah.
What is our greatest skill? I would say our greatest skill comes under the umbrella term imagination,
Mm.
which has been turned into a pejorative. So
Yeah. Yeah.
inspiration, creativity, insight, and epiphany all come underneath imagination.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for imagination, we would definitely not have MRI machines, airplanes, or mobile phones. We'd be lucky if we had spears. We probably wouldn't have those either, because somebody had to think about these things when they were not a physical reality to bring it into physical reality. That's our greatest skill. And it's all been denigrated purposely and unconsciously since we were born. And so people walk in already having assumed unconsciously the role of the propagandist. They've taken over for the people that persuaded them that these things are to be ignored. And they have to overcome that in order to be able to trust themselves. It's really tapping into your emotions.
Yeah. Okay.
So when a person gets triggered, this is a huge concept these days, right? Everybody's talking about this. Trigger warning. There's going to be, for somebody my age, it's what's wild. Like this movie has flashing lights. Flashing lights? You're kidding. You don't watch that movie. And I don't, I have to apologize right now. I don't mean to belittle things. What I'm trying to get at is that anything to a hypnotist can be a trigger. When I
Yeah.
say the word whistle, you'll forget how to speak English. You'll only be able to mumble. We've seen this in the stage shows, you know? When I clap my hands together, you'll lose the ability to stand up from your chair. You'll feel like you're glued to your chair. So I've created a trigger, and it doesn't matter what the trigger
Yeah.
is. It could be anything. And then we become prisoners of our triggers. It's not the trigger's problem. It's not the trigger's fault. It's the old wound it's attached to. That can be healed. When it's healed, the trigger will be totally benign again, which is what it should be. I
Excellent.
shouldn't be able to say whistle and you can't speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it brings people back to their power, which is
Yes.
ultimately makes
Yes.
you the most resilient if you can just
Ex-
know who you are and know that you have the power.
Exactly. Totally. Perfectly stated.
Mm. Okay. Well, so when you're doing your consultation and you have the pendulum and you're asking them questions, that's when you're really getting down to patterns because you're saying, what sort of questions would you ask, I guess?
Okay. So give me a symptom
Let's
that
talk about tendonitis in the elbows.
okay. So the first question I would ask is the root cause of the tendonitis a trauma that you dealt with, that you suffered in the past?
I mean, I'm assuming it's going to say yes, but that would be a good one to ask. Yeah,
Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of argument,
sure.
we'll go down the other road just for a moment. Let's say it
All
says
right.
no,
Okay.
it's not the root cause.
Hmm.
Let's say, is the root cause an injury you suffered in the past?
And that would be interesting to find out because
Might be, yeah.
he's played golf,
And
but
then
not very
yeah,
consistently.
and then God forbid, is the root cause a disease process?
Hmm. But so that's what's cool, makes you the real deal because that's going to cut your job pretty short. If it's like it was an injury, then make that appointment with the physical therapist, right?
Perhaps, but the
Okay.
next question I would ask would be, is stress or any trauma that happened in the past contributing to the pain that you feel?
Ah, okay.
You're probably going to get a yes to that, because there's a fear, tension, pain cycle. And the more we fear something, the more tense we get. And the more tense we get, the more pain we feel. And just,
Hmm.
right?
Oh, see, that is super interesting of how it's like, if you think about like your ailment being an amalgamation of like a cake, right? And then all these things are the ingredients of the recipe that are creating the problem. So it's not, it could be, hey, you swung the golf club too hard in a weird way. And then now you're stressed at work and now you're stressed that it's causing you pain. That's what you're saying. And it's just
Yep.
this
And
bundle.
here's some other questions you could ask in that, with that example. You could say, is the pain in my elbow attempting to teach me something? Probably going to be a yes. Probably going to be like, slow down, pay
Hmm.
attention. I have this amazing book that's like a big, thick encyclopedia, and it has almost every physical malady that you could imagine, body parts, disease processes, and everything. And it has the emotional underpinning to each one. So I could open that book and read and say, okay, here's what elbow means: left elbow, right elbow. And
Hmm. Hmm.
I read it to clients, and they're like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. Because I don't really try to persuade them of anything. I say, I've never read this one before, because it's that thick.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be interesting. So is it trying to teach them anything? Um, is is it connecting him emotionally to someone? There might have been somebody from his past who had a messed up elbow.
Mm.
And when he feels that pain, unconsciously, he feels connected to that person. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just giving you ideas. Like, here's this constellation of how we are connected.
Hmm.
And there could be he might have gotten injured in a past lifetime right there.
Hmm.
I don't know.
So the way past lives work, is could it have been in a past life and then now it's happened in this life and it's triggering the deeper, it's now becoming more and exacerbated from what it would have been if it was just this life. Like it's almost like a remembrance where it's making it worse. Is that how that works?
Well, and the way I'll answer that is, I'll say what the purpose of pain is. The purpose of pain is to call your attention to something that needs to be
Mm.
resolved. It needs to be healed. Just like any symptom, smoke coming out of the engine of your car is supposed to call your attention to it. Take it to a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been plenty of cases where something happened in a client's life. Let's say when they turned 26, for example. Could also be when they have a particular experience. And that thing turns out to be related to a past lifetime that occurred when they were 26 in that past lifetime. So what is it calling for? What is the pain in their present life calling for? It's calling for them to go back to the past life and resolve that trauma that happened back then. That's the purpose of the pain. Did that
So
answer
if
your question?
Yeah, absolutely. So if
Okay.
I was your client and then we went through our consultation and we got down to what we were trying to resolve, how do you decide, are you going to do a past life regression or just a regular hypnosis? How do you know what we're going to do?
So this has evolved and changed over time. Everything, I'm always trying to simplify things, because people bring very complex problems to me. And in order to make sense of them, I have to reduce it, make it as simple as I possibly can for myself and then for them.
Hmm.
So the the primary tool, the first round tool that I use now, because it's so effective and it's so fast, is a process called havening.
Okay.
Havening is very similar to EMDR. And what I've learned um, through my experience of doing so much of this is that I can combine hypnosis with havening. Because when somebody's doing EMDR, or they're doing havening, they're automatically entering a hypnotic state, whether they know that or they don't. Most people don't know that. And people trained in EMDR know nothing about hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So I have found a way to fuse these together.
Cool.
So
Okay.
it depends on the person, but a strong go-to at the front end is havening because it's so fast, of repatterning and reprocessing a trauma. And depending on what the trauma is, I always add hypnosis to it because I know that that part of their mind is wide open and it can accept the suggestions that I'm giving them for a different outcome.
It's almost like people are dating you in the beginning. Like, do I trust this guy? You know, when do we have a rapport? Because what you just said is the scary part, that I'm going to be under hypnosis and you're going to put suggestions in my brain. Like on the outset, that sounds scary, but I know based on what you just said about how do you want the patterns, the negative patterns, like an alcoholism pattern to spider, or would you rather the good patterns spider?
Yes, and I think it's important to um, help your listeners understand now what hypnosis is. So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I am curious, like what would, there's no, I'm not going to grade you or anything, I
Sure.
promise. Well, what would you say it is? And you're kind of in this world a little bit. You're not a hypnotist, but what would you say? What is hypnosis? How would you define it? And that even people in that world have some disagreement on the exact definition. But what would you say it is? Like, how would you
To
describe it to
me,
somebody? Yeah, like
is that you are in a trance state. So a state of mind where if you had like technology hooked up to me, you could see that my brain patterning is now changed into like a different wave state, that I'm in a place that I can actually access different parts of my mind than I would be in this waking, I think it's alpha state, right? That I'm like, I get
that's a
the,
light trance. So
okay. Okay.
you're
So
in
you
beta
want to
right
get
now, and
deeper.
you
Is
go
it like
alpha, theta,
gamma?
delta.
Yeah.
Alpha,
Okay.
theta, delta. Yeah,
Okay. So when you get to a different brainwave state, then now your brain is open to more of those possibilities, whether it's your imagination, your subconscious, to maybe even on, if you're more spiritual, maybe it's even that you can tap into higher consciousness. So then you could get help from guides, you could get help from God, you could, and if you don't believe in any of that, you're just accessing higher parts of yourself, maybe. And then
gotcha.
from there, if you have a good guide, because to me, this is where the DIY can only take you so far. You can put on YouTube and you have fantastic videos on YouTube, but
Thank you.
having a guide like someone like yourself, you can ask the questions while someone's in a trance state. Because if you're trying to ask yourself the questions, then you're going to jump out of that brainwave state to where you're
Love it.
using um, the part of your brain that's analytical. We want to shut that part off, right? So then if you're asking me the questions, I could answer them in a different part of my brain that I don't access on the daily. And then from there, we can reprogram it.
Yeah, it's a fabulous description. Fabulous description.
You tell me your definition. It
A
might be
focused
simpler.
state. I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll explain it so people can understand firsthand from their own
Okay.
lives. A focused state of concentration where selective thinking is employed. That's a fancy way of saying you're driving your car home and you're thinking about something that's happening at work or in your relationship or a movie you saw last night or last week, and you pull into your driveway and you cannot recall driving the last 10, 15, 20 minutes. You're working around your house, like in the garden or something, or doing some project around your house. And you come in toward the end of the day because it's dinner time and you wash your hands and you realize you've got a big cut on the back of your hand right here. Or you're taking a shower a day or two later and you've got a giant bruise on your leg. You're like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
The reason that you didn't feel the pain that would normally be associated with a cut on the back of your hand or a giant bruise on your leg is because you were in a hypnotic state. I'll explain what this means.
Okay.
You're watching a movie and it gets to be the end of the movie. They start rolling the credits. And you're like, what happened? That was 2 hours? I thought it was like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. Where did the time go? It's because you were in hypnosis. Focused state of concentration, where you move out of a large aperture of awareness, like you're looking through a huge Palladian glass window, to now you're looking through something the diameter of this pen. And everything outside the diameter of the pen, the act of driving your car, time, pain, you don't even register because it's outside the aperture of your focus, concentration, awareness. That's what hypnosis is. And in all three of those examples, there is not a human hypnotist present. You could argue that in a movie there is, because people who watch television or watch movies or look at their phone and start doom scrolling, all of those people are in hypnosis, every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Many of whom would say, I would never let myself be hypnotized while they're in a hypnotic state, being
Scrolling.
persuaded that this
Yeah.
is the beer that they should drink now. This is the hamburger that they should eat now. This is the medication that they should ask their doctor if it's right for them, even though it might cause blindness, heart could stop, they could die, they could go numb from the waist down. No, this is the one I need to ask my doctor if it's right for me.
Yeah.
It's all that is mind control.
Yeah, that's right. That is right.
And it works really well, in part because we have this, there's some bias, I forget what it's called. It's like a normalcy bias where we think other people are persuadable, but not us, which works really well for the people wanting to do the persuading. Also, to portray hypnosis as one person controlling another, where the subject is in a catatonic sleep-like state, and they walk around with their arms out in front of them and they bark like dogs and everything else. They're like, oh, it's silly. The more common versions of it, like watching television, is kind of left off the table because they don't want to disrupt the apple cart of persuading people to buy their product and service, including political candidates.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, wars are sold. They're literally sold. We need to do this because of X, Y, and Z. And here are these horrible things that have happened, and we've got to intervene to stop these things. And, you can't just, and with modern cultures, turn on a dime usually. Usually there's a preparatory phase where they get people all worked up emotionally. And then the other thing I would say is when you walk into, what's the name of that store that sells the yoga pants?
Lululemon?
Yeah, Lululemon. I love this. This is, I've never bought anything there, but I love it. You go in there and there's this, it's like there's a smell in the air, like they sprayed something. And then they have this music.
Buy my $100 yoga pants that,
like $300. Boom, 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 boom.
And then all the workers have it on and they have their
And the music is designed to move you from your analytical, logical left hemisphere of your brain to your creative, emotional right hemisphere of your brain. The part that's going to go, $300 for a pair of yoga pants. No, that part's gone offline. It's in the boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
And then fast food. What unites Burger King and McDonald's and Pizza Hut and Wendy's visually? The colors. They all have red and like orange.
Yeah.
Why? Because red is known to stimulate appetite for food and for sex, and a quick, fast decision. So it's fast food. Make a fast decision to eat something fast and then get something else. Like, they put so much research into every little thing. And it's all getting you at this deep, hypnotic-esque level of your emotions and your deeper desires, because they figured this out in the 1950s. They called them depth, DEPTH, depth researchers, about how people are motivated primarily about things like food and sex and like these very basic things that we need in Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
Right. And we can sell all kinds of stuff using this.
No, it's so funny, this whole conversation, because I just had this flashback. In grade school, I did a science project on subliminal messaging, and I completely forgot until you're giving all these examples. And I'm like, I was into that back then.
Yeah.
I want my kids to do a science project on that, because they get our kids in some sneaky ways with all these things you're talking about.
They certainly do.
I try to teach them that do not become the product. You are the product. If you stop and ask yourself, what do I like? What do I think? What is my imagination? Not, I mean, back in the day, and I don't let them watch YouTube now, but they would watch other kids playing Barbie dolls on YouTube. And I mean,
Wow.
talk about outsourcing your imagination.
Wow.
And that I'm like, cut yeah, no.
Good for you.
Go in the playroom and play your own dolls
Yeah.
and, don't outsource your imagination. But all that to say, hypnosis is that powerful. So why not use it in your life for good, essentially, is what we're saying,
Right.
right?
And don't think for a minute that the only time you will encounter hypnosis is in the presence of a hypnotist, like in Last Up on a Stage, or in an office with me, or on YouTube when it says hypnosis video or something. Those are not the only places you're going to encounter it. You're going to encounter it with any media. These technologies have had billions of dollars of research, not just corporate research, but government research that has gone into it over decades to figure out how to persuade and control, because that's what governments do. They
Mm-hmm.
persuade and they control. And it's easier for them to use control of your mind than it is control of your body. Then they're into billy clubs and handcuffs and guns and jails, and it's much more cumbersome than
Mm-hmm.
getting somebody to say, yeah, we need to go fight fill in the blank.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. Can we go back to your techniques? So, what does
Amen.
havening look like if you've never heard of that? I've never heard of that.
There are a variety of ways of doing it. Like you're basically crossing the midline, and
Okay.
you're engaging your eyes in the similar way to EMDR, because your eyes are connected to your brain.
Okay.
And there, one of the ways is you're tapping like this, and then you blink your eyes as fast as you can. That's the action that you would see the client
Mm-hmm.
undergoing. I have them tapping their thighs, blinking their eyes at the same time.
Okay.
But it's the the key to the work is identifying the trauma, getting a baseline on it, and then I have the person close their eyes, not tapping it yet at all, just close their eyes. I want you to go back to that incident.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ask them questions about it. So, are you like let's do this with you, not with the trauma. So just close your eyes for a
Okay.
second.
All right.
All right. So I would like you to go to a very, very, very happy memory from childhood. Just let your mind take you to the happiest memory it wants to from childhood. And then just tell me roughly how old you are and if you're inside or outside.
Outside at 12 years old.
12 years old. Great. What time of year is it?
Summer.
Summer. And right now for you, are you first person in your 12-year-old body, or are you third person observing?
Third person observing.
How old is the observer?
40 years old.
Perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
what is your 12-year-old doing?
She's playing with her cousins at their aunt's house in her pool.
Wonderful. She's got a
Mm-hmm.
smile on her face?
Oh, yeah. We're having a great time. See, maybe it's first.
It's
Switching back
okay.
and forth.
Sometimes people bleed back and forth between first and third, which is what you
Mm-hmm.
might be doing. Can you feel the feelings, the happy feelings or the good feelings of playing with your
So I
cousins?
feel like it's third person because it's more like watching a home movie where you feel that nostalgic feeling of it, not the feelings in the moment, if that
Gotcha.
makes sense.
Are
Mhm.
there any colors associated with this?
Purple, for some reason, that's my bathing suit.
Fantastic.
Blue of the water, like the
Yep.
concrete, kind of, how concrete's like
Yep.
chalky and hard
Great.
of the pool.
Outstanding. And then one other question. I kind of
Mhm.
asked you this before, but I just want to make sure. Have there been any changes in your body since you started telling me about this?
I'm kind of tingly, like excited to revisit
Perfect.
this
And where
memory,
in your body do you feel the tingly feelings?
like all right here. Just
Excellent. Okay, you can open
mhm.
your eyes.
Okay.
So this is how I would talk to a person, but it would be around a trauma that we had identified with the pendulum. Okay. Once we've got that scene in their mind, then we have them start doing the tapping and blinking for about 30 seconds. When they open their eyes, I have them keep their eyes closed, but when they stop the blinking, keep the eyes closed, I have them go back to the scene. And I say, has anything about that scene changed? And I want to say very close to 100% of the time, things will already be changing. So the scene itself might have changed, like and it could be dimmer more obscured, hard to access it. They might be farther away from it. They might be taking some kind of an action in the scene that actually improves it for their earlier self. Their body, where they would be feeling the opposite you were feeling, so they'd be feeling like tension, heaviness,
Yeah.
the heart's beating rapidly, perspiring. Now that's starting to mitigate, right, as we go through these iterations. And then the second iteration, I would add in hypnosis. So you're now in deep hypnosis. If we kept going with this, especially with the tapping and blinking.
It didn't take much, even for the happy memory. Yeah, I was there
Exactly.
in it.
Exactly. So what I would be doing in the second iteration, depending on what they suffered, let's say if it was around guilt, I would be working on that. You know, every human being is always doing the
Yeah.
best they can in any given circumstance. You know, no human being gets through this whole life without making mistakes. The
Shame
important
is
thing,
probably a big one for you, like helping people work through shame.
sure, the
Mhm.
important thing is recognizing this,
Mhm.
atoning for it, meaning doing what you can and then moving
Mm.
on. If they had a strong faith, I would definitely, and it was Christianity, I would definitely bring in that. You know,
Mm.
Jesus teaches us that everyone is worthy of forgiveness. If you acknowledge earnestly what happened. And then with shame or guilt, I would then do a separate regression to the incident where their adult self, and this
Mhm.
is what happened with you right here, and no one said anything, right? You just did it. You had a bit of a separation with her, 40-year-old, 12-year-old. Well, in a trauma, that's really, really good because you're telling the subconscious mind, you're kind of updating it saying, that was then, this is now.
Yeah.
And the 40-year-old is there to rescue the 12-year-old. So we'd have you put your arms around her, almost like she
Mhm.
was your daughter, and say,
Mhm.
I love you. You know, I know that you're suffering and I don't blame you. You know, how you responded to that situation really was the best you could do then, but I want you to know that you're safe now. So these are other techniques that we would use. And that's a hypnotic technique because now you're already deep in hypnosis. You're probably crying as you're
Yeah.
hugging your younger self. And then when the younger self is ready to forgive herself, we go through that process. And when that's all done, we have her integrate with you. But we first
Mhm.
ask permission. We have you ask 12-year-old, are you ready to integrate with me so the two of us can be one? Oh, yeah, I want to do that. Because then I'm going to get everything you have: maturity, stability, the ability to take care of yourself, wisdom, all this other stuff. And then I ask you, are you okay with integrating your 12-year-old? Oh, definitely. Okay, you're going to benefit too
Mhm.
because you're going to get her creativity, her innocence, her joy and zest for living. And then we go through an integration process where you feel her just kind of filtering into every cell of your body, of your being, and the two of you become one.
And I can see how taking people there to memories that could scare some people in the onset. But what's the saying that you just have to be tired of your own stuff enough to take action in a sense? Like, eh, again, you can easily be like, I got to go to work. I got this to do. I don't have time for all this until you finally reach a breaking point where, again, your body is manifesting it. You have to just say, I need to take the time to figure this out. And then finding someone like you to hold space and create a container for it is what a gift you give people. As much as you probably have great energetic hygiene because you have to in this line of work, I mean, how does it not take a toll on you sometimes to feel, because you can't help but feel other people's journey as they go through it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like you can't work in a coal mine and not get coal dust on you. I mean, there is some of that. And I do think that some people, for a variety of reasons, have a greater capacity for this.
Mhm.
So when I was a firefighter, I was engaging with people at moments of trauma.
Yeah.
It was all physical trauma. You know, a person that's in a car that's rolled over, another person that has to get cut out of a car and they're injured in there and they're terrified. Structure fires, you know, people chopping off their fingers with a snowblower. Like, you know, people um, dead as a result of a motor vehicle accident and a relative screaming when you roll up to the scene. And to be a firefighter, if you were in a state of deep empathy, you wouldn't be able to do your job. You would be useless to what they really need in that moment, which is for you to have enough of a remove to do your job, to help them, to get to stabilize the situation, to put out the fire, to cut them out of the car, to get them where they need to
Uh,
go, which is usually the
what a
hospital.
metaphor for exactly what you're doing. I mean, you're stabilizing. So when you have the stabilization on your end and you're allowing the other person to truly unravel in that
Hmm.
moment, and whatever
Yeah.
comes out. I mean, I'm sure you've heard screaming and crying and yelling and cussing and all of it, right? And it's just it's fine. That's part of it. And then you get to be the stabilizing factor to help them
Hmm.
heal that. How cool.
Which also helps people in the moment. So, if you were a firefighter and you're about to go into a structure fire and the captain starts wailing and crying, it's not going to build confidence in you
Yeah.
about advancing your hose line into the building.
No, no.
You need the person who's holding that space, as you put it, or leading, to
hmm
have control of themselves, because you can then gain confidence that because they're holding it, it's okay for you to let go,
Yeah.
or it's okay for you to take a step forward. So I feel like that's part of this for me. Like when
hmm
somebody says, "Oh my God," they're in a past lifetime and they're about to be
hmm
executed. It's like, okay, I got you. You're safe. We can keep going with this because we're gonna resolve this once and for all. You're safe. Nothing that's happening in your mind right now can harm you. That was all in the past. Are you willing to keep going?
But you're asking permission every step of the
Yep.
way. It's not like you're just leading them down some dark hallway. Not, and you're together. That's a really beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yes, and that's not the only source of support that I generally build in for a client. So usually I will introduce them to their spirit guide. And when people meet their spirit guides, they generally, like a 90% of the time, have this feeling of calm, of knowing. Like, I don't know how I know this guide, but I know them and I know they know me. And there's a rock solid stability with the guide. And the guide is there on the energetic level. I'm there on the physical level. And so we will even ask guides, is it in highest and best client? Have the client ask, is it in my
Mhm.
highest and best interest to go back to this past lifetime? Yeah. If the guide says no, we're like, okay, well, we'll do it. We'll figure out what we need to do first. But then we'll ask the client, are you willing to go? And if they say no, we're not going to go, but we are going to figure out what we need to do to equip them so that they feel capable of doing that.
Can you give me any stories from past lives that you've helped people visit where I know you have tons, where it's like you identified a wound here and then it crossed over into the other life and they came back and they're like, "Are you kidding me? This is what it was?" I mean, can you think of an incredible story like that?
Well, quite a few.
Mhm.
What I will do is I'll just give you a super quick example of this doctor I was working with and
Ooh,
how his past life related to the issue for which we were working. And then I'll tell you about something that happened to me because it was first person. It's super visceral. So
okay.
people are usually telling me what's going on, but I can tell you what it was like from the inside,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, first, what kind of doctor was he?
He was a chiropractor.
Okay, okay. I thought that
Well,
was
there was
interesting.
another doctor I worked with who was an obstetrician,
Oh.
and we were working very intensely for a while because he really just took this work up, and he had like he was taking medication for anxiety and for some kind of stomach problems. And this one day he came in after we had done 3, 4, 5 sessions or something, including past life regressions. And he sat down and he looked at me like he got close and looked right in my eyes. He goes, "You, you have to tell me why my stomach is not problematic anymore and I'm not taking the drug. You have to tell me that. I need to know right now." He was totally confused because it
Yeah.
didn't
It doesn't make sense to him,
conform
right?
to what he had learned. Right.
Mhm.
Um, and then so this chiropractor owned his own business, and he was super anxious when he would have to talk about his business with people. First session with a client was really hard for him. making a presentation to a group of people was like off the charts. Trying to make a video, but it was just awful. And when we regressed him back to the root cause of this anxiety in those circumstances, he went to the 1700s in France, and he was bound in one of those wooden carts rolling through a crowd, and up ahead was a scaffold and a guillotine.
Mm.
And so people are pelting him with fruit, and they're yelling obscenities at him, and he, is walked up onto this scaffold, which is like a stage,
Mm.
and the people out there are like an audience to be executed. And when we healed that, he reported to me that his anxiety around these various scenarios that I described to you was almost nothing. It had gone down like whatever, 70-80% or something like that. And he was able to handle these things.
That's
And that makes
incredible.
perfect sense.
You talked about language. I mean, that is what people say public speaking feels like to them, and execution, that they're walking towards their death is why they don't want to public speak. So that begs the question, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but what is your belief that this is a true past life, which we would consider actually in him reliving in the now? Because if time is non-existent, then we call it a past life, but you're still living it now, right? Or is it his imagination that created the situation for you to go in and heal it as a metaphor?
Oh, I definitely want to answer this, but it will help if I give you the situation that happened to me.
Okay, perfect segue. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's not forget that I want to answer your question.
Okay.
So my wife and I were having difficulty around the start of the whole COVID thing, and we were on different sides of the fence, and it was causing problems in our marriage. And we had just finished a session with a couples counselor, and um, after the session was over, I just said to her, I can feel something coming up inside of me, like from the past. I feel it coming. And she was like, okay, just take care of it. Do whatever you need to do. And so I was in my office. And I just sat in the big easy chair I have in there for clients, closed my eyes, went into a trance, and boom, I was in the middle of a battle. I was in it. First person, medieval, with swords and shields and armor and all this other stuff. It wasn't like knights or anything. It was just like more, um, less fancy than that. And I could hear the sounds of it, and it was hot, and I could see the green of the grass. And I felt like I was right in the middle of it, and I felt like I was giving it everything I had. And then I got a spear through the chest, and I rolled down a hill, and I was lying on my back on the grass, and I was looking up at the sky, and I had this horrible feeling of failure. And then the scene changed without me saying, okay, now it's time to change. No, the scene just changed. And now I was standing in front of a woman. She was pretty short, and there were 3 or 4 children standing next to her, and they all looked like they were wearing gowns. But it was like a one room hut of some kind, cabin, hut, like a hut. And I didn't recognize any of them from my present life, but as soon as I saw them, and they were just looking at me. As soon as I saw them, I, in my present body, sitting in the chair, burst into tears. And I just explained to you how, as a firefighter, I've seen a lot. And I never burst into tears on any of the scenes, ever. Never felt like I was going to. So it's not like, oh, he just cries at the drop of a hat. I can cry for sure when, like, whatever. But I didn't recognize them. And I didn't know. I kind of felt like that was my wife and kids, but I burst into this racking sobs, not even just like weeping, like this kind of thing. And then I found myself saying to them, I'm sorry. And that brought up more and I didn't, and then they said, what else could you have done?
Mm.
You died fighting. And I had this thought like, oh shit, they're right. Like, I did do everything I could. And the tears started to go down, and then I embraced them, and after that, I found this massive relief around this concept of taking responsibility for other people.
Mm. Yeah.
Massive. Like, it was easier to laugh at myself for being wrong. I felt just more at ease with my kids and what's going on in their life, or with my wife, and not perfect, but just this greater sense of ease that was markedly different after that experience.
So it shifts your perspective in a way that you wouldn't have been able to get to without that trance and feeling those experiences.
It was really big. There was a lot
Yeah.
coming out, like a
Yeah.
lot coming out.
And then you almost can treat yourself like you would your child when your child's going through a hard situation, and you have the perspective as the parent that it's going to be okay, this situation with a friend or whatever.
Yeah,
But the kid in the moment, right? Like they're 10 and they're having trouble with their best friend. Like it's everything and it's so hard. But now you're able to have that same sort of perspective for yourself
right,
after
right. And
what you
God bless
saw.
my wife, because she witnessed the whole thing and didn't think, "Oh, he's out of his mind." She was accustomed to this concept.
Yeah.
So to get back to your question, what do I believe? Um, I believe we live multiple lifetimes. That's not my original thought. That's an ancient thought.
Hmm.
And I do believe that everything is happening simultaneously. That's hard for us to digest, but it basically means that when you heal something in the past, you're also healing something in the present.
I 100% agree with all of it.
And
Yes.
if someone else, like a client or something, decided, no, this is just a metaphor that my mind is making, okay, that's fine. I don't have I don't have a vested interest in you believing it. And as long as you get your goal, we're all good. But I do think that it's hard to make a judgment about this until you've actually had the experience. And I personally can't come up with any logical reasons why I would burst into such violent tears in a moment like that of seeing a woman and 3 or 4 kids that I didn't even consciously recognize. Obviously, another part of me did. And my belief is that when the emotions get engaged, you've encountered reality. Maybe not the reality that's been laid out for us in this tiny little box, but a broader reality.
Yeah.
One of the things that I say is, if you watch a movie and you start crying in that movie, or you get scared, um, you have a visceral, powerful, emotional response to the movie. No one would say that your emotional reaction was fake.
Hmm.
But then how does something fake produce something real? Can you put a fake seed in the ground and have a real plant?
That's a really good question, though.
And
Yeah.
my way of answering it is real. It's just in a reality larger than the little box that we've been placed in. Oh, it's only
Yeah.
a dream. It's just your imagination, you know?
Yeah. I love coming full circle to what you were talking about earlier. What you described also are the type of stories that people do give when they go do an ayahuasca journey or a mushroom journey, where they go into a place and relive a story that they don't even recognize, and it helps them gain a higher perspective. But you can do this and help people do this without any substances or without a come down or anything like that. So how would you
Correct.
liken the two?
Well, first of all, I think that, and I kind of alluded to this before, I think uh, psychedelics have their place,
Hmm.
for sure. And I think they're especially useful for a culture like ours that is so divorced, from our body, has all of these beliefs that anything that doesn't conform to their five physical senses can't be real, unless there's a device that can translate it into the five physical senses. So a Wi-Fi signal,
Hmm.
you can't taste it or see it or hear it, but there's a device that can. that then can be accessed by one of your 5 physical senses. So, oh yeah, of course, TV signal, radio signal, of course that's real. Um, but yeah, that we live in this culture that is so locked down in that way that
Yeah.
psychedelics immediately kind of get people out of that part of their mind that is saying, "No, that's not real. That person's crazy." So there's a value, a big value there from that perspective. But I think that our God-given neurology, our God-given abilities, means we don't have to have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like, I guess, antibiotics. Antibiotics aid the immune system in overcoming bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
Our immune system has a natural ability to overcome bacteria. It does it every single day. But there are certain situations and circumstances where you better have the antibiotics to save your life.
That's a good
And
analogy. Yeah. Yeah.
well, thank you very much.
Fast tracks it given the situation if needed. Yeah.
Right.
And then what a cool thing that we have options, especially
What a cool
this day
thing.
and age.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
Well, I know you've got to go, so we'll wrap it up. But I feel like we could definitely have a part 2 if you're ever up
Yeah,
for that.
sure. I'd be
You're
happy
so
to.
easy to talk to, and I had a really great time. So thanks
I
for
feel the same
explaining
way.
this. And before we go, you have to tell everybody how to find you,
Okay.
and if they're interested in signing up for what you have to offer, how they would do that.
Sure. So I've got 2 websites. The primary one, I guess you could call it, is blueskyhypnosis.com. That's the holding tank, if you will, for a variety of work that I do for different situations. And my YouTube channel that has over 250 pieces of content there, most of which is designed for people to use for particular issues, is also called Blue Sky Hypnosis. I then have another website called petermclaughlin.com, and that one is focused more on relationships.
Okay.
So as I get older and do more work and think about things and figure out what I really am drawn to right now, it's relationships. Because I think there are 3 main areas of our lives that we have problems in, and we have problems in one or more. I don't know if I've met anybody that has all 3 locked down. But the first one would be physical and mental health. The second one would be business, purpose, work, and money. And the third one is what I think is the big one, which is relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about relationships, I think most people have their greatest joys and their worst pain in their primary relationship. The highest high and the lowest low. Like if something's going bad there, it causes more pain usually than those other 2 buckets. And because of that, I find myself really drawn to that. My parents got divorced when I was 5, and I grew up thinking, why? Like, how did this happen? And like, how can people stay together? Are they even meant to stay together? Like all of that stuff. And so that's why petermclaughlin.com is kind of a newer initiative, and that's built around that focus.
Well, you're doing so much amazing work and changing people's lives, and thank you for your
Well,
light
thank
that
you.
you give this world. It's pretty amazing, and
And
I can't
and
wait.
you for yours, Kelly.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm just a facilitator.
That's
But
all I am at the end of the day.
oh
I'm
no,
just
I think you're
facilitating the inner
magical.
wisdom of people and
Yeah.
helping to guide a little bit. But ultimately it's them. They're the ones that are really doing the work. I'm like
Yeah.
a coach. Like
Hmm.
I'm not out on the field. I'm not the quarterback. I'm not the defensive end. They are.
Well,
But
some
but
coaches
I'm
take
there.
people to the championships, and others, not so much. So I think
That
that's
that's
you.
that's true. But they're the ones that are still really, on the
That's right.
field doing the work. And
That's
I
right.
and I like to keep that in perspective. The recent things that have come out with the Epstein files and like Deepak Chopra, like this is so common for people to start believing their own press,
Yeah. Well,
and
there are
be
no gurus, everybody. You are your own
exactly.
guru. Yep.
That's what I'm trying to say. You said it much
Yeah.
more eloquently.
That's it. I mean, And you teaching people that is the good stuff right there. And so to your point, that's what we share that mission, is that there's so much out there that people haven't heard. And that's where I want to come in and say, look, this is something you haven't considered. And then you get to facilitate someone saving themselves. How cool is that? Yeah.
How cool is that? Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Peter. And
You're welcome.
I'll let you go. But I mean, if you're open for a round two, maybe we can
Sure.
schedule something, because we
Yeah,
still
sounds
need to
good.
talk about entity attachments. And
Mhm.
we got a whole nother host of information. I'd love to
True,
talk
we
more about
do.
the couples stuff. Well, you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Bye.